Have you ever wondered if your thoughts could reach across continents, transcending physical barriers, to heal someone you love from a distance? What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you possess an untapped power so profound it could transform lives without you uttering a single word? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Intercessory prayer is not what most people think it is. It's not desperate pleading into the void, hoping something or someone might hear you. It's not religious ritual or empty words spoken from habit. No, what we're exploring today is nothing short of a spiritual technology, a science of directed thought that operates beyond the constraints of time and space. Has this ever happened to you? You think intensely about someone, and moments later they call you? Or perhaps you felt an inexplicable urge to reach out to someone, only to discover they were in the midst of a crisis? These aren't coincidences. They're glimpses into the invisible network connecting all minds across the universal consciousness. The ancient mystics knew it. Quantum physicists are beginning to understand it. And today, you'll discover how to consciously harness this power that already flows through you. What makes intercessory prayer truly revolutionary is that it isn't passive. It's an active creative power governed by precise spiritual and mental laws that shape reality itself. Just as electricity follows exact principles, your focused intention creates waves in the mental field that touch others with precision and purpose. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. It contradicts much of what we've been taught about. Prayer and spiritual connection. Most people approach prayer as supplication, as begging. But effective intercessors understand they aren't convincing an external force to intervene. They're becoming channels through which universal good flows naturally, effortlessly. Imagine being able to stand beside someone's hospital bed and, without saying a word, create a healing environment in their subconscious mind. Imagine helping a loved one break free from addiction, not through confrontation or intervention, but through the silent power of your directed thought. This isn't magic or mysticism, it's mental science operating according to exact laws that respond with mathematical precision when correctly applied. Throughout history, those who understood these principles have performed what others called miracles. But there were no miracles, only natural law applied with understanding and conviction. The universal mind responds not to what you say, but to what you feel, to the image you hold steady within your consciousness. When that image is formed with clarity, charged with emotion, and released with certainty, a bridge is formed between minds. That transcends all physical limitations. What if you could become that lighthouse in someone's storm? What if your mind could become the bridge between chaos and peace in another's life? What if the solution to helping those you love most doesn't involve doing more, but seeing differently? In the next few minutes, we'll begin to explore the invisible power of intercessory prayer, a force that has remained largely misunderstood, yet has transformed countless lives when properly applied. You've found value in understanding the science of intercessory prayer today. I invite you to join our growing community of conscious practitioners by subscribing to this channel. Each week, we explore powerful techniques that transform not just your spiritual practice, but your entire approach to life's challenges. Subscribe now to access our full library of teachings on mental science, visualization techniques, and the hidden principles that govern reality. Our subscribers tell us these teachings have created breakthrough moments in their relationships, health, and personal growth. Don't miss our upcoming special series on advanced visualization techniques that even Joseph Murphy rarely taught publicly. Become part of this journey of discovery. Click subscribe, and let's continue exploring the invisible power that shapes our world together. Let me reveal something that may transform your understanding of spiritual connection. This teaching isn't abstract theory or religious dogma meant to fill books and sermons. It's a practical tool, a genuine technology of consciousness waiting to be applied in your daily journey. Behind the scenes of every great healing, reconciliation, or breakthrough often stands someone who understood this hidden truth. Thought is power, concentrated and directed with precision. What makes this revelation so profound is that intercessory prayer works like a channel of vibrational action. When you hold a clear image of someone's wellness or success in your mind, you're not merely hoping, you're actively transmitting a frequency that can recalibrate their internal environment. Distance becomes irrelevant in this paradigm of connection. Now, I want to go even deeper into this mindset shift. The most liberating aspect of intercessory prayer is that it requires no special status or credentials. This isn't an exclusive club reserved for saints, gurus, or those with impressive spiritual pedigrees. The ability to influence reality through directed thought is your birthright, a natural capacity of every awakened soul. You don't need ordination, certifications, or formal training. You need no intermediaries between you and the universal mind. The only requirement is your willingness to understand and apply universal principles with consistency and clarity. This democratization of spiritual power represents one of the most significant revelations in human consciousness. What truly distinguishes this approach is its foundation in mental science rather than emotional fervor. Intercessory prayer operates according to precise laws, methods, and conditions, just like gravity or electricity. It's not about how intensely you feel or how desperately you plead. It's about how accurately you understand and apply the principles governing mental energy. When applied correctly, these principles produce results as tangible as any physical science outcomes that can be seen, measured, and verified in real-world transformations. Relationships heal, bodies recover, opportunities emerge. These aren't coincidences, but natural consequences of correct application. The mindset required for this work isn't mystical but practical, the same focused attention that allows a surgeon to perform delicate operations or an engineer to design precise structures. Type in the comments, "I'm ready to apply this science," if you're beginning to see how these principles might work in your own experience. One of the most profound revelations on this journey is discovering your true identity as a channel of divine love and healing. This isn't poetic language, it's a practical realization that transforms your entire approach to life. When you practice intercessory prayer consistently, you begin to recognize yourself as an agent of invisible order in a sometimes chaotic world. This awakening shifts your entire perspective on your purpose and potential impact. Behind the scenes of this transformation is a fundamental mindset shift. You're no longer attempting to manipulate circumstances through force of will. Instead, you become someone who heals without physical touch, guides without imposing your agenda, and blesses without demanding anything in return. This represents a remarkable evolution in your consciousness, moving from controller to conduit. The mystery at the heart of praying for another person reveals a hidden truth about human connection. While most people pray primarily for themselves, focusing on personal needs, desires, or challenges, intercessory prayer operates from an entirely different foundation. It functions through the mental unity that exists between all human beings, not as some abstract spiritual concept, but as a natural, demonstrable law of consciousness. This revelation opens doorways of understanding that change everything. Your thoughts aren't contained within your skull. They're transmissions that influence the shared mental field we all inhabit. This isn't mere theory. It's a practical insight with immediate applications in your relationships, work, and community impact. The mechanics of this process involve activating invisible mental bridges between minds. When you pray for someone with clarity and conviction, you establish a connection as real and functional as physical cables transmitting electricity between stations. This mental bridge allows for the transfer of healing energy, clarifying insights, and restorative harmony without physical proximity. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it bypasses the limitations most people assume are fixed and unchangeable. Physical distance becomes irrelevant. Time constraints dissolve. Even resistance in the other person can be gently transcended when your intention remains pure and your vision remains clear. If this resonates with your intuition about human connection, write in the comments, "Mental bridges are real." What's particularly fascinating about this practice is the amplifying effect when multiple minds gather in harmony. This phenomenon operates like a symphony where individual instruments create something far greater than the sum of their parts. When two or more people focus simultaneously on the same constructive image, whether it's healing for a loved one or resolution for a challenging situation, they tune into a specific vibratory field that activates a powerful response in the universal consciousness. This resonance creates a connection that transcends ordinary physical limitations, forming what some traditions have called a thought form, a concentrated energy pattern that persists even after the initial focus ends. This revelation changes our understanding of collaborative spiritual work, suggesting that aligned intention multiplies impact rather than merely adding to it. One crucial insight that many miss about this process involves the ethical dimension of intercessory prayer. Unlike manipulation or control, genuine spiritual connection operates with profound respect for individual sovereignty. Your prayer doesn't impose or force change, but rather offers a positive frequency to the mental environment, like placing nutritious food before someone without forcing them to eat. The recipient's soul will accept what resonates with their level of acceptance, taking what serves their highest good while naturally filtering what doesn't. This understanding liberates you from any concern about interfering with another's journey or violating their free will. You're not dictating, you're illuminating potential pathways. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of how this works across distance. The breakthrough understanding is that the subconscious mind isn't confined to a physical body or geographical location. It's fundamentally non-local. This parallels discoveries in quantum physics, where particles maintain connection regardless of spatial separation. When praying for someone anywhere in the world, your thought reaches them instantaneously, because in the subconscious plane, there simply is no distance, time, or separation as we understand it in the material world. The mental field operates under different laws of resonance and attraction rather than physical proximity. This revelation completely transforms our approach to helping loved ones in distant places. The ocean between you becomes irrelevant when you understand that consciousness itself has no shores, no boundaries, no limitations of space. If you've ever sensed someone's thoughts before they called, you've experienced this non-local nature firsthand. Type in the comments, "Distance is an illusion," if you've ever felt this connection across space. The catalyst that separates effective intercessors from those who see little result lies hidden in their motivation. This critical difference determines whether your practice becomes transformative or remains merely symbolic. True intercession isn't about showcasing spiritual prowess or manipulating outcomes to match your preferences. It emerges from a profound revelation that universal good is the only truly valid will, and your role is offering alignment with that higher intelligence. This mindset shift revolutionizes your entire approach. Rather than praying from a position of "I know what's best," you operate from a humble recognition that you're simply holding space for the highest possibility to unfold. This distinction may seem subtle, but behind the scenes, it completely alters the energetic signature of your prayer, removing the ego's interference that often blocks results. One breakthrough insight that many practitioners overlook involves what happens before you even begin praying. Before directing healing energy toward anyone, you must first correct your own vision of them. This internal perception work is non-negotiable for success. If you're visualizing someone as fundamentally broken, while simultaneously praying for their wholeness, you're sending contradictory frequencies that cancel each other out. Your subconscious registers and transmits what you truly believe, not what you say you believe. This revelation explains why seemingly identical prayers produce dramatically different outcomes. One person sees the recipient as permanently damaged, while another sees them as temporarily obscured but inherently whole. The energy signature differs completely. The power of deliberate mental imagery cannot be overstated in this process. Just as a masterful sculptor envisions the completed statue within the raw marble before making the first cut, you must hold a clear internal vision of the person as already blessed, already whole, already transformed. This isn't wishful thinking. It's creating a precise energetic template that becomes the mold your subconscious works with. Your mind doesn't distinguish between what's physically present and what's vividly imagined with emotional conviction. This psychological principle explains why visualization has been used by peak performers in every field, from athletics to business. When applied to intercessory prayer, it becomes a technology for transformation. Share your experience by writing, "I see the whole person," in the comments if you've witnessed this principle at work. Let me share a remarkable case study that demonstrates these principles in action. A woman in New York was struggling with her daughter's severe depression. She'd tried everything: doctors, medications, therapy, but nothing seemed to break through the darkness. When she learned about intercessory prayer, she initially resisted because it seemed too simple. Her breakthrough came when she stopped seeing her daughter as broken and began consistently holding a vision of her as radiant, strong, and free. Each night before bed, she would spend just 5 minutes visualizing her daughter smiling, engaged in life, speaking with confidence. She didn't tell her daughter about this practice. She simply maintained the discipline of correcting her internal vision. Within weeks, her daughter called her, saying she felt peaceful for the first time in months. This wasn't coincidence. It was the natural outcome of aligned mental focus. This revelation challenges our fundamental understanding of what's happening when we pray. What we're experiencing isn't a supernatural transaction with an unpredictable deity who might or might not grant our request. It's a scientific process of mental transfer, operating through precise natural laws. Just as heat naturally transfers from a warmer body to a cooler one, qualities like peace, clarity, and mental health can transfer between consciousnesses when proper focus is maintained. This understanding liberates us from the uncertainty that plagues traditional approaches to prayer. We're not supplicants hoping for intervention. We're conscious operators working with universal principles that respond with mathematical precision when correctly applied. Now, I want to go even deeper into the most beautiful aspect of this journey. The true mystery of praying for another lies in your willingness to hold for them an image they temporarily cannot hold for themselves. Think of it as holding a cup for someone too weak to lift it to their own lips. You're not controlling them. You're supporting them until their strength returns. When someone is caught in despair, addiction, or illness, their mental field becomes clouded. They simply cannot see themselves as whole. Your role isn't to impose your will, but to hold steady a vision of their true nature until they can reconnect with it themselves. This isn't manipulation, it's compassionate service on the mental plane. If you've ever been the steady presence for someone in crisis, write, "I've held the cup," in the comments. To truly understand the mechanics of intercessory prayer, we need to embrace a fundamental paradigm shift about the nature of mind itself. The human mind isn't a closed container isolated within your skull. It's an active extension of a single universal consciousness, expressed uniquely through each being. This revelation transforms our entire understanding of mental influence and connection. Scientists exploring the frontiers of consciousness are beginning to map what mystics have described for millennia, that our seemingly separate minds operate within a shared field. This insight isn't merely philosophical. It's the cornerstone of effective mental transmission. When you grasp this principle, your entire approach to prayer undergoes a profound evolution. Behind the scenes of our apparent separation exists what some call the mental field or unified field, a vibratory medium connecting all consciousness. This field operates similarly to how radio waves fill the space around us, invisible yet carrying precise information. Every thought, emotion, and intention you generate imprints itself on this field as a wave pattern that ripples outward, touching other minds according to resonance and receptivity. The quality of your mental emission, its clarity, emotional charge, and repetition determines how powerfully it transmits and how effectively it's received. This explains why some prayers seem to work while others don't. The difference isn't divine favoritism, but the precision of your mental broadcast. Perhaps the most revolutionary insight in this journey of discovery is that your thoughts about others are never neutral. They're always communicating something through resonance and vibration, whether you intend this or not. Just as thinking hatred silently transmits a poisonous frequency, even without a single spoken word, prayer transmits healing energy, even without formal ritualistic expression. This revelation places tremendous responsibility in your hands. Every judgment, criticism, fear, or doubt you hold about another person subtly influences their mental field. Likewise, every image of wholeness, clarity, and peace you hold for them creates a positive resonance that can help recalibrate their internal environment. The unspoken thoughts you maintain about your spouse, children, colleagues, and even strangers are constantly broadcasting on the unified field. Type, "I'm mindful of my mental broadcast," if you're beginning to recognize the significance of maintaining conscious awareness of your thought patterns. A powerful metaphor that helps unlock this concept is thinking of the mental field as a vast ocean. While each individual mind appears to be separate like distinct waves rising from the surface, in truth, every wave is simply a local expression of the same body of water. This perspective shift reveals why our thoughts can influence others regardless of distance. We're not separate entities, broadcasting across space, but different expressions of the same underlying consciousness. When you truly internalize this revelation, the boundaries between my mind and their mind begin to dissolve. The mental field recognizes no hard divisions between individuals, only varying degrees of resonance and receptivity. This truth transforms your entire approach to prayer, meditation, and mental influence. You're not reaching across a void. You're creating ripples in a shared medium. What's particularly transformative about this understanding is the realization that your mental states aren't private affairs. The hatred, love, peace, or forgiveness you hold within, even if never verbalized or expressed, through action radiates outward and affects others through the invisible network connecting all minds. This insight forms the very foundation of mental intercession and explains why maintaining inner harmony becomes an act of service to everyone around you. Your unexpressed resentment toward a colleague doesn't stay contained within you. It travels through the mental field and is subconsciously registered. Similarly, your silent blessing for a troubled friend doesn't require their knowledge or consent to influence their mental environment positively. This hidden truth reveals why some people seem to unconsciously avoid certain individuals while being drawn to others without logical explanation. Now, I want to go even deeper into the mechanics of distance healing. The subconscious mind doesn't inhabit three-dimensional space as we understand it. Its operation is fundamentally non-local. This means you can direct healing energy to someone on the opposite side of the planet. And if your intention is pure enough, their subconscious will receive that frequency as clearly as if you were sitting beside them. This principle explains countless documented cases of spontaneous healing, synchronistic support, and unexpected breakthroughs that occurred when someone far away held a sustained vision of wellness for another person. The physical distance becomes irrelevant when operating from the level of non-local consciousness. Share your experience by writing "I felt connected across distance" if you've ever sensed someone's thoughts or feelings despite being physically separated. Modern science offers us a fascinating parallel that helps illuminate how this mental connection works. Quantum physicists have discovered a phenomenon called quantum entanglement, where two particles that have interacted maintain an instantaneous connection regardless of the distance separating them. When one particle changes state, the other responds immediately, even if they're on opposite sides of the universe. This revolutionary discovery mirrors what spiritual practitioners have understood for centuries. Every mental connection leaves an energetic trace that can be reactivated through intention. This insight reveals the hidden mechanism behind seemingly miraculous reconnections in your life. That person you hadn't thought about in years who suddenly calls, or the childhood friend who reaches out precisely when you're going through a crisis. These aren't coincidences, but demonstrations of the energetic threads that remain active beneath the surface of conscious awareness. The revelation that transforms practitioners from beginners to masters lies in understanding that effective intercessory prayer requires purifying your own intention first. This inner work isn't optional. It's the foundation of success. You must personally enter the vibratory frequency you wish to transmit. To pray for someone's health effectively, you must embody a consciousness of health. To pray for prosperity, you must feel yourself as a channel of abundance. This principle explains why identical words spoken by different people produce dramatically different results. The subconscious doesn't respond to your words, but to your state of being. The recipient doesn't receive what you say, they receive who you are. Your intention creates the energetic signature that determines whether your prayer will heal or merely echo without effect. A powerful case study illustrates this transformation. A man in San Francisco had been praying nightly for his alcoholic brother without results. During a breakthrough moment, he realized his prayers were saturated with resentment rather than love. Your true emotion isn't compassion but anger, he was told. Your mind says heal him, but your subconscious screams, he ruined my life. Only when he healed his own emotional memory and began seeing his brother as a complete soul without needing repair did his prayer become medicine rather than lament. Within months, his brother achieved sobriety, not through confrontation, but through the silent transmission of a purified vision. If you've ever noticed how your emotional state affects your impact on others, write intention purification works in the comments. Before you can effectively help others through intercessory prayer, there's a critical preparation process that many overlook. The most profound revelation in this journey of transformation is that you must first look inward rather than outward. This isn't about being perfect. It's about creating a clean channel through which healing energy can flow unobstructed. When your mind is cluttered with judgment, resentment, fear, or despair, these emotional states create static that distorts your transmission. Think of it like trying to broadcast a clear signal through a damaged antenna. No matter how powerful the original broadcast, the reception will be compromised. The internal work required before effective intercession isn't a spiritual luxury. It's a technical necessity for achieving consistent results. This mindset shift completely changes the approach from focusing exclusively on the other person to first preparing your own consciousness. A particularly revolutionary insight involves understanding forgiveness not merely as a moral virtue, but as a practical requirement for effective spiritual work. Many practitioners struggle because they carry unresolved resentments that sustain a low vibrational frequency directly, interfering with their prayers. Every grudge you hold creates an energetic interference pattern that corrupts your transmission. Forgiveness in this context isn't about condoning harmful behavior or pretending you weren't hurt. It's about freeing your internal system from the persistent static of past wounds so you can function as a clean channel for universal good. This realization transforms forgiveness from an optional spiritual practice to an essential technical component of effective prayer. Now, I want to go even deeper into identifying the specific mental toxins that corrupt the prayer process. 3 particularly damaging states are criticism, doubt, and pity. Criticism places you in an illusory position of superiority that disconnects you from compassionate flow. Doubt introduces hesitation that weakens your transmission. And perhaps most surprisingly, pity, though often confused with compassion, actually functions as a disguised form of judgment. When you feel pity, you're subtly positioning yourself above the other person rather than seeing them as your equal who has temporarily lost sight of their wholeness. True compassion sees beyond current circumstances to the person's innate completeness. If you've noticed how your mental state affects your ability to help others, write mental preparation matters in the comments. Let's explore the practical application that transforms this knowledge into tangible results. One of the most powerful techniques in this intercessory prayer is systematic visualization before sleep. This timing is strategic, not arbitrary. The moments before sleep represent a unique window when your conscious mind relaxes its guard, allowing direct access to the subconscious realm. During this twilight state, your mental broadcasts achieve maximum potency. The practice itself is beautifully straightforward. Each night before sleeping, visualize the person you're praying for in their ideal state, healthy, happy, at peace. Don't focus on their current struggles or limitations. Instead, create a vivid scene where they appear exactly as you wish them to be. See them walking with energy if they're currently ill, or speaking with clarity if they're confused. Make this scene as detailed and multisensory as possible. See their facial expressions, hear their confident voice, sense their renewed energy. After holding this image with gentle focus for several minutes, mentally affirm, "This is so, this is already done." This declaration isn't wishful thinking. It's aligning yourself with a reality that exists in potential, waiting for activation. This technique works not through magical thinking, but through aligned consciousness. The journey from theory to transformation is illustrated perfectly in a case study from Buenos Aires. A mother whose son was lost in the darkness of drug addiction had tried everything: interventions, therapies, pleading conversations, all without success. When she learned about intercessory prayer, she received unexpected guidance. Stop crying. Stop begging. Start seeing. She was instructed to abandon her image of him as broken and instead mentally see him as free, healthy, and purposeful each night before sleep. This represented a complete paradigm shift in her approach. Rather than bombarding him with fearful energy disguised as concern, she began transmitting clear, confident visions of his potential recovery. 4 months later, without external pressure, he voluntarily entered rehabilitation. What's happening in these cases isn't supernatural intervention, but a precise application of mental broadcasting principles. Intercessory prayer isn't a plea to heaven, but a broadcast to the universal mental field. Your mind serves as the transmitter. Your image functions as the signal. And when your channel is clean and your signal clear, results manifest according to natural law. If you've witnessed how changing your perception of someone influenced their behavior, write "mental broadcasting works" in the comments. The power of intercessory prayer reaches a remarkable amplification when we move from individual practice to collective focus. When multiple minds align with identical purpose, holding the same mental image in unity, something extraordinary occurs. Their effect doesn't merely add together, but multiplies exponentially. This hidden truth explains why throughout history, spiritual traditions worldwide have emphasized the importance of group prayer or meditation. The mechanics behind this multiplication effect are fascinating. Each mind functions like a transmitter, sending out a specific frequency. When multiple transmitters broadcast the identical frequency in phase with one another, they create what scientists call constructive interference waves that combine to create a much stronger composite wave. This creates a resonant field that penetrates mental barriers faster and deeper than any single mind could achieve alone. This phenomenon operates through the same principles that allow physical technologies like laser amplification to work. Individual light waves, when perfectly aligned, create a focused beam capable of precision far beyond scattered light. Similarly, aligned consciousness creates a focused beam of intention that transcends ordinary mental influence. Now, I want to go even deeper into what makes a truly effective prayer circle. The breakthrough insight isn't about physical proximity, but vibrational agreement. Don't necessarily need to gather in the same room. What matters is transmitting in synchrony in the same image, affirmation, and emotional quality regarding your focus. This revelation liberates us from logistical constraints while maintaining the power of unified intention. A remarkable case study from a hospital in Mexico City illustrates this principle in action. 5 women, 3 nurses, a doctor, and a receptionist formed a silent circle for a young man with severe depression. Each, from their separate locations, visualized him recovered, working enthusiastically, greeting people with confidence. They coordinated specific times for this practice, but never discussed it with him or even with each other during the process. After just 2 weeks, without any external prompt, he suddenly expressed interest in studying programming, something he'd never mentioned before. 3 months later, he received a scholarship and began rebuilding his life. What's fascinating is that when interviewed later, he mentioned feeling as if someone was standing behind me, gently guiding me toward something new. If you've ever experienced unexpected support during difficult times, Right, invisible support is real in the comments. For those ready to implement a prayer circle in their own lives, there are specific steps that optimize its effectiveness. The process begins with defining a crystal clear objective, not vague hooks like "Help John," but precise visions such as John confidently leading meetings or Sarah reconciled with her family. This clarity creates a coherent vibrational target that all participants can align with precisely. The next crucial step involves establishing a common visualization scheme, a shared mental movie that everyone can play in their minds. The more detailed this visualization, the stronger the resonant field becomes. Select a single powerful affirmation that everyone repeats mentally during their practice, something like "Divine harmony flows through him now," or "Her path is illuminated with clarity and purpose." Shared declaration creates a unified frequency that amplifies your collective intention. Rather than struggling to coordinate exact timing, determine approximate windows, perhaps between 6 to 7 a.m., noon hour, or before sleep. The mental field doesn't require split-second timing, but benefits from rhythmic consistency. Perhaps most importantly, practice in silence without constantly discussing results or looking for signs. Patient trust allows the energy to work without the interference of anxiety or doubt. Now, I want to go even deeper into what many consider the ultimate test of spiritual maturity, praying for those who have hurt you. This represents the highest form of intercessory prayer, not because it requires greater technique, but because it demands the transmutation of your own resentment into compassion. The profound revelation here is that forgiveness isn't primarily a moral act toward the other, but a healing act toward yourself. As long as you carry the emotional charge of hurt, betrayal, or anger, you remain energetically chained to the very person and experience you wish to transcend. These unresolved emotions create a perpetual interference pattern in your mental broadcast, corrupting even your most sincere attempts at prayer. The journey toward effective prayer for those who've wounded you begins with the recognition that your own liberation depends on releasing these toxic frequencies. The technical approach requires creating an entirely new mental image. Don't focus on their wounded face or repeatedly replay the scene of harm. This only strengthens the negative connection. Instead, deliberately build a new image of them speaking peacefully, smiling genuinely, helping others, walking with dignity. If you've ever experienced the freedom that comes from releasing an old grudge, type "liberation through forgiveness" in the comments. The most transformative revelation in this entire journey comes when you realize that you are not separate from divine love, but an expression of it. This perspective shift completely revolutionizes your relationship with prayer itself. You're not standing outside the system, desperately attempting to invoke some external force to intervene on your behalf. Instead, you're recognizing yourself as a conscious channel through which universal intelligence naturally flows when unobstructed. This paradigm change represents a quantum leap in spiritual maturity, moving from supplication to embodiment, from begging to becoming. It's like the difference between asking someone to turn on a light versus realizing you've been standing next to the switch all along. The power doesn't come to you. It flows through you when you align with its nature. This insight transforms not just how you pray, but how you perceive your essential identity. You begin to recognize yourself as a focal point of consciousness through which the creative power of the universe can express itself uniquely. This isn't spiritual arrogance, but spiritual humility, acknowledging that you serve as a conduit rather than the source. Now, I want to go even deeper into the ultimate evolutionary stage of this practice. The distinction between praying and living gradually dissolves as you advance in this work. The highest practitioners don't just pray occasionally during designated sessions. They live as continuous prayer, making their entire presence a channel through which divine compassion radiates to everyone they encounter. This state transcends formal practice, transforming your moment-to-moment existence into an unbroken broadcast of healing consciousness. Your thoughts automatically align with the highest good. Your gaze naturally sees the divine essence in everyone you meet. Even your silence becomes charged with transformative potential. You no longer need to close your eyes and enter a special state to transmit blessing. Your very being becomes the blessing. This represents the integration of spiritual practice with everyday life, no longer compartmentalizing prayer time from normal time, but allowing your heightened awareness to infuse every interaction, every decision, every fleeting thought. If you've ever experienced moments where you felt like a natural channel of goodness without effort, share "I've glimpsed continuous prayer" in the comments. As we come to this moment of reflection, I'm reminded that knowledge without application remains merely information. The principles we've explored together about intercessory prayer represent one of the most profound technologies of consciousness available to us, a way to actively participate in healing not just ourselves, but our entire world. If this exploration of prayer as mental science has resonated with something deep within you, I'd love for you to become part of our community of conscious practitioners. Subscribe to join us on this journey of discovery where we continue exploring these hidden dimensions of spiritual influence and mental power. The beautiful thing about this work is that it begins immediately right where you are. You don't need special equipment, lengthy training, or exclusive knowledge. You already possess everything required to begin transforming your relationships and environment through directed consciousness. If you've made it to this point in our exploration, I'd love to know that these ideas have found fertile ground. Simply write "I am a conscious channel" in the comments to connect with others walking this same path of discovery. And if you found value in this perspective on prayer as mental science rather than supplication, consider leaving a like not for algorithm reasons, but because it helps others seeking this knowledge to find their way to this conversation. There's a video right here that expands on how to apply these principles specifically to healing physical conditions. It explores the profound connection between visualization and cellular regeneration. Click and continue with me there as we deepen our understanding of how consciousness shapes reality at every level. Until we meet again, remember, you're not merely saying prayers, you're becoming prayer itself.